What up, y'all? It's OSGOE, One Sir Grove. This is C4CW casting 495 Celebrities Worldwide. I am the host of this podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you are true fans of this show, then IWE495 most certainly appreciate you. So, today, 47 degrees Fahrenheit. Looks like the spring. Doesn't even honestly look like the fall. That is amazing because we're technically in the middle of the winter. So I don't know, man, if we're getting California weather now on the East Coast. Because I've heard that California is now getting humidity. It's almost like the coast of flip-flop. Very, very strange, very bizarre. But, you know, and I've also heard that in the Pacific Northwest and on the West Coast, they've gotten hit with a couple of snowstorms. So we haven't gotten that out here. We had some brief snow for like a few hours one day, a couple of times this year, and that was it. It was gone. Like it didn't exist. And I'm saying it looks like the spring and it feels like the spring. 47 degrees Fahrenheit on the East Coast. That's not cold for us. That's like joke cold. I mean, it's close enough to 50. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, we're used to and accustomed to brutal winters. Knock on wood, this hasn't been anything close to that. In the past 5 years, I only recall there having been one mild winter, which caught everyone off guard mostly. I wouldn't say everyone because I'm sure someone out there was like, just knew predictively that it was going to be a mild winter, but I think a lot of folks were just like, wow, this is strange and bizarre. Well, I think a lot of us anticipated and expected a crazy, brutal winter, as we often get. It hasn't been anything like that. So that's a relief for a lot of East Coasters. We've been able to get a lot of work done and do a lot of things out here that we ordinarily would not have been able to do at this time of year. So I'm back at the university online. I study online among multiple universities as well as offline. I travel to different places and different jurisdictions, different cities, different states, different places. I've been to different provinces, different areas and territories. And I used to go to Canada like every other weekend. And now that I live in the East, the focus is electrical engineering, electronics engineering, which electronics engineering is where I started in engineering back in the 1990s. Now we're in the 2020s. So you can see it's been from the 90s into the 2000s, now the 2020s. But, I went back and revisited Python. Because it's not just electrical engineering and electronics engineering and engineering. It's also computer science, IT, information systems, software programming. IT is a broad category of fields. Some people don't know the field. They don't often think about what it encompasses, what it entails. So I'll be brief. When I started in computer information systems, IT, management information systems, those were my fields of study, in addition to electronics. I was only in electronics engineering, not because I wanted a terminal degree in electronics engineering. I was in electronics engineering because I'm really a computer guy. And not a lot of computer guys know electrical engineering or electronics engineering. Or engineering, period. They just know IT, programming, software, development. And so I said to myself, I need to broaden my horizons. Broaden my horizon. What is that idiom? Broaden your horizons? Are there multiple horizons? So, yeah. So I was like, I need to diversify my academic portfolio, that is repertoire. And so I branched off. And when I branched off, I realized what I had been missing from all the years of studying computers, legacy systems, old school programming languages, C, C++, Objective-C, QBasic, and Visual Basic, and Java, and all these different languages, because I studied a lot of different computer programming languages. And I studied them formally in the classroom. I bounced around at different universities, and every university that I would attend would be a different and new set of course materials. Nonetheless, the courses were often continuations of courses from previous universities with new courses to boot. So when I was at one university out here on the East Coast, which is a physical brick and mortar university near New York, I studied cybersecurity, and at that particular university, we learned, high-level languages versus low-level languages, and architecture, operating systems, and so that program was different from another cybersecurity program that I had been in that touched upon the same, but also covered different core principles. So the cyber program that I've been in here in New York, it doesn't go into operating systems architecture per se. It doesn't delve so much into the computer science aspects of the program that I had been in. That was closer to Baltimore. It's more on the C programming side of things and denial of service attacks and how to prevent and offensive and defensive measures in the cyber domain, countermeasures. And so depending on the institution is what I'm saying, one will find that over here, this computer science program will encompass this. At this university over here, though it's considered computer science as well, it'll cover a different range of topics. Cybersecurity can overlap with computer science. Sometimes, depending on one's computer science program at that is their particular respective university, computer science may have some security-related topics, but mostly not. I've talked to folks in computer science at different universities, and they have shared with me that they do nothing of a computer security sort, and that their focus is solely on architecture, operating systems, core principles of computer science. And it's fascinating because talking to some master's and PhD students, I found that some of them, and a lot of them who are at said levels, they have never studied any of the security-related aspects of computer science. None whatsoever. And so it's really fascinating how, depending on the institution, the list of topics that are covered is different, even though the program is the same name. It's the same title, computer science. It's the same with cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is going to be different at each individual respective university college. If you attend one college for cybersecurity, the range of topics there covered and discussed is going to be different from that of other universities. Now, obviously, there is overlap depending, but sometimes, depending on how long or how not so long, how brief of a study at one particular university, there may be no overlap from one university to another. I'll give you an example. So, I studied computer science online through the University of Maryland at some point, and occasionally will pop back in online and study from their group of courses that are available as they're added and as that program continues to develop, evolve, and grow. And like I said, I bounce around to different universities. So because in the fast-moving and, quickly growing, vastly it's enormous. The field is vast. The going with Moore's law, the topics expand and they change a lot of times within a couple of years. So what was discussed 2 years ago at any particular institution may be relatively obsolete in some regard and on its way out the door. So when you look back at information that was presented during a course at any particular, college, university, 2 years from then just may not be so relevant, is my point. So, keeping this short here, under 15 minutes, working in legacy systems, staying abreast of everything that is new, everything that is currently relevant, and going back and looking at what used to be relevant, what used to be in the mainstream flow of it all. I'm looking at older network companies, and one of the companies that used to be at the center of computer networking and engineering that you would hear about quite a bit, and I'm not saying that the company isn't still relevant. I was in electronics engineering back in the year 1997. That's the year that I was in electronics engineering, 1997. So from 1997 to 2007 to 2017, you can see that's 20 years. So over 20 years ago, I was in electronics engineering. My overall GPA at that particular institution, that particular college, was a 3.4 GPA. That was the overall GPA. So I think I did relatively well. I mean, considering the fact that I had been in computer information systems and branched off into electronics engineering and learned a thing or two about EE, that is electronics engineering. So back then, you'd hear a lot about Honeywell. Again, I'm not saying that Honeywell isn't around. Honeywell is obviously still around, still a big name, still a big company, completely relevant. I'm just simply saying that in my program, you would see Honeywell and in literature, and you would hear about it often. And you'd also hear about Novell Networks, Novell, the Novell company. Now you hear about Cisco quite a bit and Juniper. Back then it was Novell. So I'm reading up on SOAP, and I'm also reading up on Pearl. And that is 15 minutes. And so that concludes this particular episode of C4CW, Casting 495 Celebrities Worldwide. As I continue to read up on these legacy systems here, I will have additional information for those of you who follow legacy systems, and we'll go from there. Thanks for tuning in.